it means you haven't been reading the GitHub. So that was a little bit of a trick question. Definitely go back and read those, right? They are there to help you. Okay, so the spread operator, what's it all about? Okay, so there's a couple things we should talk about. So what if we didn't know how many arguments were being passed into a function? What? What? All right, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so we've written a function called like adder. I'm gonna start with ES5. I don't want you to cement this too hard in your brain. Just be aware that this exists. Function adder, and this is going to take in how many arguments? One. Well, wait. So at least two, right? Num1, num2. What if? Okay, we'll get there in a second. Calm down, Corey. I'm so excited about this. I love this program. Okay, so right now we'd just be returning num1 plus num2, right? And we can prove it to ourselves. Console.log. And we'll call adder, and we'll pass in, I don't know, 13 and 13, our two favorite numbers. And we can go ahead and run node, and we get our 26. Great. So what if I wanted to add another 13? Or another number? I'd have to do num3, right? And then I'd have to do num3, right? And I'd have to keep passing things in here. Well, this seems okay, but what if we wanted to write like functions that were a lot more flexible, right? Like the yoga of the functions. And we didn't know how many arguments it was going to take in. Well, this is a problem that has already been solved for us. In ES5, there's a keyword called arguments. And so let me show you what that means. I'm going to change these numbers so that we'll be able to tell that they're different. 18 kind of looks like 13, right? This is not going to take in any arguments at the moment, but we're still passing in arguments. And so for now, I'm going to console.log so we can see, and I'm going to write this keyword, and that keyword is arguments. So when we go ahead and run this code, we get this weird arguments object. What does this look like? So I'm hearing a couple things. Some people say it looks like an object. Some people say it looks like an array. Right? I mean, we're both right? Because an array is essentially an object with these keys attached to it, right? Do we think I can iterate? Do we think I can do argument stuff for each? So let's see. So if I had sum, and I had a 0, well, an actual 0, not the cousin, and I say argument stuff for each element, and I wanted to do something like sum plus equal argument. Do we think this will work? We don't know, right? If you think it's going to work, raise your hand. If you don't think it's going to work, raise your left hand. All right, Crystal, you raised your hand on not working. Why? What? So now it is going to work? Oh man, as soon as I call you, change your answer. Repeat.
Well, you're dealing with numbers. Whatever's in return.
I don't understand the connection. Will?
It would work because
Okay.
Take arguments that you pass and again.
All right, Jay.
I think it won't work.
Won't work.
Because looking at arguments as an object, and for each is a method for the array class.
Mm.
So it's an object of the arguments class.
That is a pretty convincing argument. Shall we try?
Yeah.
Boom! For each is not a function. It's going to say that. Yeah, right? Arguments are for, because arguments is not an array. Right? So that's not going to work. However, we technically can still iterate. Because I can say let I put the 0, while I is less than arguments dot length. It does have a dot length property, interestingly enough. I plus plus, and I can say arguments at the key of I, and we'll plus that to our sum. Let's try that, and we get our 38, which is correct. Right, 13 plus 7 is 20 plus 18. Yeah, Jay. Can what? I don't know. Let's find out. I legitimately do not know. This is ES5 world. For let key in arguments, and we would say arguments key, right? Let's see. No idea, Jay. I think it will. Yeah. So, right, we can still do it because it is an object, but it does have a length property. So that's kind of a funny takeaway. So arguments is kind of weird because it's just like this hidden thing, right? But it works because we can like totally add as many things as we want, and that's right 45. That's kind of cool. But that's ES5. So pretend this is kind of like as if we were in a historical museum and like we saw somebody churning butter and doing this, right? Like we don't really care too much. We just see that that's how they did it. Yeah, Doug.
Is it object defined in the background? And does it have like any methods associated?
Is object defined in the what?
Is arguments an object predefined in the background?
Yeah.
Does it have any methods associated?
It has length. I don't know if it has any methods. That's a good question. We can Google it together. JavaScript, arguments, methods. Not seeing anything yet. Description, pretty much what we've talked about. You can set and reassign. That's probably to be predicted. Oh, yeah, you can do. I don't really want to get too deep into this, but there are. That's right. You can do things where you call another function, where you can name a method like this, like an array. And you can call .slice on it, and you can call and pass in the context. That's kind of like confusing. I don't want to get too into that. You can't specifically say dot a specific method. But it does have callee, caller, length, and that's about it. Okay, so it's kind of an interesting thing. It's something to be aware of. Let's talk about ES6. Right? Let's learn how people make butter in the modern world. Okay. Well, for one, we say const, and we have this adder. And we still want to say that this takes arguments, but we don't know how many arguments. So we do something like this. You say dot, 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 args. And we can console.log. And here, now we just refer to it as args. Args is not a key word here. I'm just using a shortened a shortened form of the word arguments because they're conceptually identical. Right? So now, this is what we have. What does that look like? That one really looks like an array, right? Is it an array? What do we think? Is it an array? Team true? All right, we have like 4 people. Team false? Team I don't vote? Gotcha. All right. Right? It is. It turns it into an array. So that's pretty easy. I mean, like, it makes it easy for us, right? Because now, if we were going back to making like a sum, now we can go back to what our original goal was, where we said sum and we did args dot for each element, sum plus equals element, return sum. And now we've got our 45 again. So now we've got a function that we can pass in all different types of length of arguments. Pretty cool. Questions? I know we got to have some questions. Yeah, Jay.
So in ES6, the keyword is arguments or args.
Okay, so ES5, the keyword is arguments. ES6, this is just the spread operator. This doesn't matter. We can call this, yep, Corey's cat. Still going to work. I highly recommend not naming your variables that, but it's a little bit of an honor, you know. If you do it for the test, I won't mark you down. Just because that would be one of those things to wake me up. No, it was a blast. I loved being here till midnight. Any other questions about the spread operator on here? All right, so this is one use case of the spread operator. There are others. I'm just checking something. It looks like I got a couple messages. Ooh, Maria sent me a couple new songs for the pump up list. Great. I'm 2 hours late, but I'll add that next time. Okay. So back to my notes on this. So how can we think of the spread operator? So it's kind of, so far, hopefully it doesn't feel too weird, right? And this is one specific use case. Right now, it's very tempting to try to use this like everywhere, like all of a sudden, right? This is a new thing we have. Not really a good idea, right? It's like this very specific use case. If we don't know how many arguments this function is going to take, if the function is going to be taking in an array, we wouldn't use a spread operator, right? We're using it just to turn in all of those miscellaneous arguments into an array. So, sorry, coding cat. All right, so it's like as if we had all these random arguments. We throw a spread operator in front of it, and it would magically draw the brackets. But here's something that's kind of fun. So if I throw a spread operator in front of an array, it magically just kind of takes away those brackets. What? All right, let's take a look, yeah? Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Move on from this problem, and we'll say let const array check, I don't know. And this is going to be taking in an array. And I'm going to console.log. Hopefully this will work the way I want it to. And I'm going to throw a spread operator. Well, first up, I'm just going to console log the array, and we're going to see the difference. check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we'll run it. I don't know how that happened, but surely I can navigate back. Okay, and we see what we would expect to see, right? It's as an array. But if I throw a spread operator in front of this, it's these loose arguments. This is the same as if I had done in my console log here. 1, right? They'll look identical. Because if you console log something, you can pass in commas to separate its arguments, right? Interesting. Take like a couple minutes and talk about this with the person beside you, about what you think a possible use case for this might be. Maybe. Interesting. All right, Cleviance, once you can hear my voice. Interesting. What were some of our ideas? Ashia.
I think maybe something similar to like when we want to change it out of its current state, like changing a number to a string. But I'm just like, for example, maybe if you have like an array of objects and you want to like take out those objects.
Okay. Cool. I dig it. Rafid?
Maybe if you like don't have an array and just have like several numbers, and you're asked to use an array method, so you can use this first, turn it into an array, and then you use the array methods towards it.
Okay. I feel like that was our first use case up here. Deja?
I don't know, maybe if you have like an infinite amount of something in your array and you have to do something to them and multiple things to them, a couple arguments would make it easier task instead of trying to go through a whole or I or whatever.
Okay, so somehow it's going to make it easier. I like that. Any others? Isaiah, you got one?
In place of like concat or in place of join.
In place of join or concat? I don't know about join, but I agree with you on concat. Right? So, like, let's go back to the problem we were looking at earlier today for a minute, which was like CD, CD. What was it called? Do we know? CD assessment review. LS code index, right? But we did this problem earlier today, where we were merging two sorted arrays. And so we don't know how many items are in array 1, and we don't know how many items are in array 2, right? One of them is empty, one of them has arrays. So here's what I'm going to do. In this last line, I'm going to return an array, because that's what my final output still needs to be. But instead, I'm going to do ... output, comma, ... array 1, comma, ... array 2. So this is, and I'll prove it to you that it still works. So what this is doing is, I don't know, oh, I see. Still pushing them together, right? We had these arrays. We were able to put them together by spreading them out. So it's like we have two arrays. Whoops. We had an array here. And we have an array here, which is like 7 and 8. I don't know what happened there. And what we're doing is we're wrapping them in one big array, right? And then we're doing that spread. So we're saying, okay, 1, 2, 3. Well, that is going to wipe that. And we have a comma there, right? We already have that. And then we're doing the 1, 2, 3. That's going to wipe that one out. And it's going to leave us with all those together. Pretty weird. Some weird, wild stuff, right? So can we think of another use case for that? Well, okay. Do you have one, or are you just thinking?
This one, I'm wondering, you also have to call the output?
What do you mean? Do I have to call the output?
Return output.
Yeah, I'm returning.
No, that's different. Okay, no, I thought that might be able to do it just every 1 and every 2.
Well, I still want to return our output as well. So I'm returning them all as within this one array, just like here. Just one of these is empty. One of these is empty. Array 1 or array 2 is empty. But back to our spread here. Let's say I wanted to duplicate an array, right? Remember when we used to say like let array, and we had some like crazy thing here, and I wanted to add something to it, like I wanted to duplicate this array, right? And we learned that I couldn't do let array 2 equal to array 1, because then if I do array 2 dot push 6 and I log array, will array have the 6 in there or no? Do we remember? Take a second with your partner next to you and decide what's going to log to the screen. Well, okay, besides the error that's going to get thrown here. Kind of game play. All right, glad everyone wants to hear my voice. All right, what do we think? What did we decide? Marvin? It's not going to be there. Why?
I don't think it's going to be there because array, or the first array, even though like array is being equal to the values of array 1, array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're constantly logging the first array, and the first array is constantly equal to that. So even if we're saying array 2 dot push, constantly array 1 is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which we changed.
Interesting. Agree with that? No? Disagree with that? Ashia, tell me what's going on.
I think because array 2 is pointing back to array, and although you're console logging array, because you're running the code from top to bottom, because you already pushed 6 into array 2, which is array 1, when you console log array 1, it's going to show up.
Okay. Any alternate views of anything? You agree with that?
Yeah. And if it was like a sum where you said like let array 2 equals an array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's an array 2 and an array. But here, if you're letting, when you set let array 2 as array, and we can go back to the array, so it'll push it into the 6. And so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sam?
Yeah, I was gonna agree and say that it's two different variable names, but it's pointing to the same, like, I don't know.
What's the word?
I don't know the word. The same.
Who's going to tell me the right word that I'm looking for? It's pointing to the same ID, location, and memory, right? Remember that weird long lecture I gave, and then I stood up on the table and drew on the board? Right? I remember we were talking about this problem. Right? Let's prove it to ourselves. Boom. Let's draw it again.
You want me to get to the table?
What? I don't know. Do I want to die today? I think I'll pass. No, it's been a good week with the wife. Okay. Ask me again next week, yeah? No, I got a trip coming up soon in December, so I'm sticking around. Knock on wood. Okay, so we got array 1. Yikes. Definitely gonna die tonight. And we do 1, 2, 3, right? When we create this variable, right, we can think of our memory as some kind of like data chip, right? And when we do this, we say, okay, array 1, and we point this to a specific spot in the memory, right? When we say array 2, and we point this to array 1, this is the same as pointing it to here. These are pointing to the same spot in memory. So if I change it in either one of those and add a 6 to the end, they both are still pointing, right? They point to the same location in memory. And because of that, because push is something that, what's it called? What does it do to an array? Mutates is the word, that's right. Right? Push is a mutating method. So how did we get around this before? What did we use? Boom. Jay, one more time, a little louder. Slice, right? He said he wants to slice and dice. He's the butcher of the JavaScript world, right? So he did array.slice, and we can slice the whole thing. When we do array.slice, we create a new space in memory. So instead, we make a duplicate, 1, 2, 3, and let our array 2 point to that. Because we're not really pointing directly to array 1, we're pointing to slice, because slice is a non-mutating thing, right? Slice creates a new instance, you can think of it. So, well, our spread operator is a friend that we just learned about. So surely if I wrap this in an array, this is a new array, right? And I can just split that other array up. And that's, whoops. And that's even shorter than the word .slice. So,
How does the dot slice use dot slice one?
0. We sliced from the beginning to the end. Just to make a duplicate. Questions on that? So now we can use our spread operator to take in numerous arguments, right? That we don't know how many. Takes in all these loose arguments, turns it into a array. Then we've used the spread operator to copy an array. We've also seen now the spread operator to duplicate what I just did, but we can also use it to concat. So I'm going to also just do that one more time. So we're going to say let R1 to 1, 2, 3. Let R2 equal to 4, 5, 6. And we can console.log this array of saying yar1. Right, what's a pirate's favorite thing of JavaScript? The array. Just made that up. Well, we used it just a minute ago. That's why I came up with the joke. But now it's got a full arc. Right, we can use the spread operator for concatenation. Concatenation. And I don't know what's going on. All right, so then, and we can also use this to add things to an object as well. Let me show you what I mean by that. So the spread operator has quite a few uses. It has even more uses, but these are the most common. But I can also do something like this. So let's say I've had an object. I'll do person. And I'll have a name. And I'll say pirate. An age, Yarby 42. I don't know. The answer to the universe. Right, and then we could say let second person. Or we'll call them morph person, because they're using everything from the other person. I can make this be an object where I just say ... person. And then I can go ahead and give them other things as well, like hair. I'll put hat, because pirates wear hats. And in our log, we can have person. And in this log, we'll have morph person. Yeah.
So it's sort of like these classes, license classes.
Can you just speak up a bit?
You know how say if we created a class, it's like event, right? We want to extend that class to be something that takes it.
Yeah.
Sort of do that.
Kind of do that. Yeah. This is just making a copy of copying something over. You can think of it more as it's kind of like copying over keys and values, whether it's like an array or an object. But we can make copies of arrays, we can make copies of objects and keep adding to it. That will automatically destruct. It's called destructuring that, I think. We can concat arrays, duplicate arrays, and take in a random number of arguments. Pretty powerful stuff, right? Just 3 dots. I think you might sometimes hear it as the rest operator. In Ruby, in case you're interested, it is a sign like that. So if I was writing it, it would be args like that. It's just the multiplication sign. So if you ever look at Ruby code and you see a multiplication sign like right next to something in an argument, that's what that is. It's the same as our spread operator. Yeah, I think that's what I told the Isaiah originally was because I was thinking about Ruby that day. Anyway, let's practice it, right? So let's your challenge, right? Write a function that takes in a random amount of arguments or unknown and arguments and returns the product, right? That's all the numbers multiplied together. So go ahead and do that. Right, you can only work with the person next to you. You don't have to be silent.
We have.
You don't say.
We're so busy on
Yeah.
Because like perhaps that person would say the like around, so like,
Oh, yeah. This is for, if we put it as a progression, you'll see.
Hang on.
no, the reason. So then you just like that's so this is bad for the one is fine. So change. Because you don't determine why you put them put some that's you did.
I think I got it.
I'm using numbers.
Do we have class to take that on weekend?
No.
They gotta clean the schedule on the fridge, we would be wrong,
Yeah.
because we don't have to come in that Saturdays. We do have class on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think so. Let me look on Canvas. I think Canvas is correct now. We this month. Yeah, it looks like we have it. What day is Thanksgiving? The 28th? Yeah, I think we do have it on Wednesday. What were you gonna ask?
No, I was gonna ask you about classes.
Monday?
Yeah, because it's a federal function.
What holiday? The 11th?
Yeah.
I think we do have class.
I don't have work. It is like so close. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's Veterans Day.
Yeah, I think they make us still work on Veterans Day. Are you okay to still come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also would like the day off. But let me see. Let me see my working calendar. Yeah, it says my next time off is Thanksgiving, so I definitely have work. So I think we do have class. Okay, we can.
Get it, baby.
I got it.
Ooh, he hit it. I feel like he had more questions. I got one and that's like two more questions. I'm like, whoa. I was chilling and I was like, oh wait, whoa. Wasn't ready. It's like an Oxford commercial. Oh wait, there's more. But if you finish the first one, I added some more things. Oh, wait, you're how to see it. Yeah, I never quit. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so right in front of that takes it. So it's their rate, I know that. You lost it. Why are you putting it? Oh, take no read. It's taking a non-correct argument. Yeah, we have to start. Wait, so you want? Why you keep laughing at me? I asked you, you said. That's all. I don't know how to do so. Inside? Then A minus B. Something like that.
Yeah, you have to take the sorted array and then use that array method. Okay. Yeah.
What do you mean when you say return the multiply array?
No, the original. This is nothing as in absolutely nothing else.
Oh, man. So how do you return when you're already returning
I'm about to go over. All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands 3 times if you can hear my voice. That was a little change up. I appreciate it, Kong. That was a little late. Okay, how did these go? Yes, no, maybe so. First one we all felt like pros. That's what I like. We only have like 4 minutes or 3 minutes. Oh my God, my life is flying before my eyes. Cons, I'm going to call this prod. So I'm just going to kind of like talk through this a bit. Feel free to interject though. Right? We said this is going to take in some random number of arguments or args. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the spread operator so that doesn't matter how many arguments people pass in, it's going to be turned into an array regardless. So I'm just going to do let product here, and I'm going to assign that to be 1 because 1 times anything is anything. And I'm going to just iterate through args. I'm going to use for each because I'm trying to do this based off of the side effects. I don't actually care about anything else. Right? I saw some people use map in here, right? Map is returning an array. We want to use this just to update our product of L. And I'm going to return product. I'll test this. I'll test this tomorrow. Next one. Well, it works, thanks. Okay, write a function that takes in an array and sorts it. So the point of this one was like const, I'm going to call this one does nothing, because it really is not doing anything. It's taking in an array. Right, we don't want to use the spread operator here because we don't want a bunch of loose arguments. We just still want that array. But I have to make a duplicate because sort is a mutating element. So I'm going to say let copy equal array, not array. I'm going to use the spread operator, which is otherwise I'd be doing slice. And now I can do all kinds of stuff to copy, sort A, comma B, A minus B dot map. Like it just doesn't matter what I'm doing here. Element times 2, right? That's a pretty fancy line that's doing stuff, but it's not doing anything about the original array. Right, that's the point of that one. 1 more minute. Write a function that takes in 2 arrays and merges them. Point of this one is just to use the merging. So we're going to say const merging. It's going to take in R1, R2, and this is going to implicitly return, and I can concat them this way, R1, comma, dot, 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 R2, and then sort them, A comma B, A minus B. 10 o'clock. Take my word that that works. We can check it out tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah.